Welcome to Spirit School. I'm your mentor, Danielle Sarank, also known as the Squamish Medium. In this podcast, I share honestly all I have learned about the mediumship and spiritual development journey. My intention is to normalize these conversations, to make way for a more confident, clear, and connected wave of lightworkers, serving the world of spirit with an open and joyful soul. Welcome again to Spirit School. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to YouTube if you are watching this on my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be here with you today for your 2022 spirit messages. Now, I have to give thanks to one of my Instagram followers who reminded me that this is how I did it last year. And here I was thinking for January, I would just be doing the January spirit messages. But when somebody reached out to me on Instagram and said, you know, I loved what you did last year where you just gave us a message for every month ahead, and she would like get a pen and paper and she would listen back to it. I couldn't believe how accurate it was for her. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be just pulling a card for every month like I did last year and giving my insights and inspirations, trusting that I'm being inspired by the world of spirit around me to give you what you need to hear at this very moment for the year ahead. So this will be the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, the expansive. This will include like life and relationships and business and spiritual practices. So we'll just wait to kind of see what comes through. The fun thing for me is that I have actually been doing these types of readings for friends for free every January, going back like 8 years. Like as long as I have been developing mediumship, I have been doing readings in this kind of format. So why I forgot about it, I have no idea, but here we are. We're going to do it. I'm super excited. First and foremost, I never really do this, especially on the podcast, but I'm very excited about this. So I'm just going to talk about for a second, but the initiation doors have opened. By the time this is aired, the registration is open for the initiation, which is my 12-week mediumship development experience. The last 4 times I ran it, it was for 6 weeks, but I have extended the program itself to 3 months. 12 weeks. So I'm really excited. It may be the only time I run it in 2022. I don't currently have any plans to run it again because I have a couple other things I'll be doing this year, including the calling and then potentially a third program, which I won't talk about it too much right now because it's still in the baby area. But typically when I would run the initiation again is actually when I would be running the calling. So things have shifted in my business quite a bit this year. So if you're interested in learning mediumship development from me, the initiation is a 12-week program, which takes you through everything you'll need to know in your first 3 years of development. So this is good for somebody who has never had experience before. And I've had even many people go through it who are already doing readings and are in their first 3 years of development. Everyone will get something out of this container and out of this experience. It's a blend of pre-recorded materials that you get to your inbox every other week, new lessons every other week. We get 6 live classes between me teaching based off the conversations and the needs of the community. You get 2 partnered practice readings a week that we organize on your behalf, but you schedule them with your partners, and a huge community experience. You get to meet your peers, you get to work with other people. You may be in the spiritual closet. There's going to be quite a few people who are not open about their spirituality in this type of container, and you get to find your people. I've had hundreds of people go through this program and absolutely love it. So that opens, we start January 21st. I'm going to close registration on January 17th. So that we can prepare everything that we need to prepare for this experience. And I do call it an experience because there's a lot going on. It's not just classes, it's lessons and classes and practice, organized practice pairings and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then of course, access to me within this community alongside your development experience. So I'm really excited. Go register if you want. I'm not trying to put pressure on you to do it. I just don't have any current plans to do this program twice in 2022 yet. If I do, it will be a surprise. But as far as my year plan goes, I don't have it slotted into my schedule. So this will be different for me. I'm used to running it twice a year. So hopefully everyone who wants to take it can join in. I'm really excited about it. So we'll see you guys there who are there. And let's get started with the 2022 spirit messages. Okay. So, the first word that I'm hearing before I even pull a card is change. And could we have any more change? Like 2021, I know for me was a big kick in the butt. So many beautiful things happened, of course, and so many abundant things happened and fortunate things happened. But it was also a very hard year of having to change quite a bit. So I'm surprised that that's coming up again for 2022. But of course, we don't roll over Jan 1 and then all of a sudden things that were going on cease and stop. So one of the things I just feel very inspired to say off the bat is that it's going to be another year of a lot of changes, which is interesting for me because just a couple hours ago, I was having a conversation with my husband. We're home alone today. And I was saying to him, I know people outside of me don't see the changes that have happened within me for like the past 2 years. But I used to be someone that was so controlling about their life and how their life ran around them that if something didn't go my way, I would be devastated. If something didn't go according to my plan, I remember one time there was an experience where I ended up in bed all day. I couldn't get out of bed because I had a friend like let me down, and I'm putting that in air quotes. It's like things happened, something came up, and plans had to change. But in my mind, I have had this plan for a long time, and like you let me down and now I have to change my whole plan. I would get so triggered by that because I was so controlling in my life. And then once I quit corporate and the pandemic happened right away, and I went from really hustling in a corporate career to having 3 weeks all to myself as a spiritual entrepreneur and things like never having that much kind of free time to myself before, to then being locked down with kids who were at the time 3 and 6. I mean, littles, you know what I mean, for 6 months, and having to shift my life again. Like something happened at the beginning of the pandemic where I literally was forced to release control in my life. And I had to tell my husband, I'm so grateful that that happened, because now, yesterday, when the government announced that the kids aren't going back to school next week, I didn't have any reaction. I just immediately went into problem solving mode. I wasn't triggered. I wasn't affected. I didn't feel like a victim in any way. I didn't predict it. I didn't see it kind of happening. I didn't plan for it, but I immediately just went into, okay, like this is what's happening. So now, like, let's talk about this. Like that one instant showed me how much I have changed. And I'm so grateful for those changes. They were definitely sparked by things that I wish didn't exist. But I am so grateful that I'm no longer that person who used to be hella triggered and really paralyzed in life because things were not going according to my plan or within the grasp of my control. And so when I think about spirit bringing through the first word of change, I just wanted to share this story because this is a beautiful change I have seen through the chaos that we have experienced in the past 2 years. So I don't want change to be seen as something bad, because a lot of people who are still holding on to their life and everything that happens in their life with like a death grip, where there's like no flexibility, where there's no room for pivoting, this may be a breakthrough year for you, much like I had in 2020. So I'm just going to say that off the bat, leading into next year's around embracing change and learning how to really thrive in uncertainty. And I'm telling you, people who are drawn to listen to this podcast kind of want what I have, like, time freedom and like a spiritual business and like literally turning my passion into my career. A lot of people want that, whether that's mediumship or psychic work or not. We all have a dream in our heart. And even though we might like our careers and working for someone else, I am sure so many of us would prefer to do our own thing. We talk about, I haven't looked too much into this, but people are talking about like the great resignation. Like people are just like resigning from their jobs and just like taking chances on doing something else. So the beauty about learning how to be really adaptable in times of change is that is what is required as an entrepreneur. It really is. So seeing this change is something that actually gets you closer to the life you desire and to your passions, or potentially even turning your passion into your career. those are skill sets that you need to have as an entrepreneur. You have to be able, okay, to thrive and lead yourself in uncertainty and no guarantees. And it's beautiful because if you can learn to manage your expectations in that way, you actually receive a lot more magic and a lot more cool experiences because you weren't expecting them and you didn't have expectations around them. I'm just having a sip of my tea. Hope you guys don't mind. So just take that as an overall message. For some reason, July is really sticking out for me when it comes to this, June leading into July. So I get the feeling just in my gut that's going to be a tough time. So we'll see what cards come out for that. Okay. So when we come to January, it's a real month of duality. It's a month. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, you can hop over to my YouTube channel. I'll link it below in the show notes. I never really do that because I'm a podcast fan myself. I'm not a huge YouTube fan, but a lot of people like the visuals. So if you're interested, you get to see the cards that I'm pulling while we're doing that. Okay. So for January, big month of duality. This is going to be a month of a lot of big choices in your life. And I get the sense that you're actually going to be a little bit overwhelmed with choice because it's not just going to be one main area of your life. There's going to be a lot. So I'm coming into conversations about potentially moving, AKA career changes, big financial changes. I also, for some reason, feel that there will be a bit of you going through like the vision of assets. Like, so this could be starting a new life, uncoupling, it's this kind of like double-edged sword when it comes to January. So for some of you, I feel very much it's going to be career and house moving, and others, I feel like it's going to be like this uncoupling and division of assets, whether that's actually going to be happening or that conversation is going to start happening. January is going to be a big month of decisions making. But the thing is, it's what I feel about when I pull this card and like what I'm being inspired to say is around these are things that are not going to be surprising. It's not going to be like abrupt. It's actually just going to be like closing of a loop around this stuff, like maybe conversations you've had since like September of 2021 leading into January. So nothing's going to be a huge surprise. And there's actually like no wrong decision you can make, is what I really feel. Like there's a card that's like, choose wisely. This is not a choose wisely. This is like, just make a choice for your own inner peace, because you're worthy of that peace. And so just make a choice. You'll be good either way. You'll just have a little bit of a different story to carry next year. That's all. And it's all going to be okay. So please don't be paralyzed by these choices that you have to make. When we come into February, we pull the celebration card. This is a partnership card. I get the sense that this is very career-based. I get the sense that this is around how you make a living. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working for someone else, it doesn't matter. This is a creative endeavor. I definitely feel, and I feel that there's like a collaboration that takes place. 3 being, a very powerful number. I feel very, very good about it. It's going to be a time of great celebration. But I have to say, especially for those who are planning to collaborate on something and those that have like this idea you need investors in or buy-in from a partner or something, what I do feel very much that I have to say in partnership with this being a beautiful card and something that's very harmonious is that it doesn't mean it's going to be an easy ride. I actually feel that there's going to be a few bumps heading into spring, but I also feel very much that they're very necessary for your own maturity and growth. Okay. Because what they're making me feel is, again, bringing in the flexibility, also bringing in understanding that you're not in control when you're in a partnership as well, and really learning to release control. I think that that's going to be a huge theme of 2022 is like finally realizing there's not a whole lot we're in control of other than our decisions and our choices and our mindset. So next year is going to be a lot about releasing control and surrendering a lot of control. I know that can sound so bad if you sit on a certain side of a camp, but I'm just going to go with it. So this is actually going to be one of the big teachers for you in surrendering control and understanding that you actually don't have to do everything alone for things to work out well. Like things can surprise you, and let things surprise you, because the more you see that things work out without you having to, white knuckle grip hold on everything, and things work out very beautifully, you're going to start to trust your life a lot more. So that's one of the lessons that's going to be starting in February. So February, again, being a very positive month with this, but then the bumps kind of coming after, which are all going to be things that come up to help you release control and surrender a little bit into your life. Okay. Oh, so when we come into March, one of my favorite cards, the zero card, so I think in America you say O, but in Canada we say zero. So zero card is all about like the new beginnings. So this is like a woman standing on top of the world, very powerful pose, just ready to wander through what is to come. So this is very much, I'm going to lean into business again. I'm going to lean into career. This is where I feel like I'm going with this, is going to be a big initiation month. So if you're thinking of like launching something next year, March is going to be it. So March is like a really, really delicious month for that. And again, what is coming up for me more importantly with this card is that those who get lost in analysis paralysis, those that try to wait for things to be perfect, you're going to miss your opportunity. This is a leap before you're ready experience, which Spirit is going to be bringing you in March. So this is doing something before you have everything figured out. This is doing something before everything is perfect. This is just trusting. Okay. So initiating something before you're even feeling ready. And I do very much feel that I have to bring up this maturity again. It's almost like Spirit's going to have us like grow up a lot. Like I feel like I grew up a lot in 2021, a lot, and I can recognize that now. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of you experience what I experienced in 2021 in 2022, which was very deep inner work and coming out feeling like a new person, like a more powerful, insured, confident person. So there's something that's going to come up in March where you're going to initiate something, AKA launch something before you're ready, find out it actually works amazing, maybe even beat up on yourself a little bit about how much you overthought about something in the past and how much energy that wasted. And that's really going to inspire you for the rest of the year, to continue to do things in a very inspired way. So for those of you who missed the opportunity, and I'm putting missed in air quotes, there's going to be another opportunity that comes up in August to do the same. And for those that took the leap in March, there's going to be a second thing that you're going to do in August as well. I feel very much. So as a business, person, I love spiritual entrepreneurship. The way that it's coming to me in my like aura is that it's around launching something. Right. So I'm actually going to be launching the calling in May. So this isn't for me and about me. This is about you guys, and just putting out the intention of the spirit world. Whoever's going to listen to this, I'm sure they'll get something out of it. Right. So anyways, let's go on to April. So we're getting some good cards, guys, for next year. So I feel very good about that. This is a really abundant card. This is material harvest. So again, if you guys are launching something in March, I think by April, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Like this is a very financially abundant card that's to come. I'm really glad the past two cards, I kind of stuck with that theme of career, because this is going to be a big payoff. I also get the sense some of you are going to be selling property in April and being very financially abundant in that, because we know that the market's been a little bit crazy, a little bit scary. But for some reason, I want to go to April with also selling some property and coming out on top, and then being faced with some choices on what you're going to do. But they're all very privileged choices, I feel very much. So for you who are taking leaps in taking risks in your business and launching something, whether it's your own business, a program, and offering a class, I don't know what that is. There's going to be huge financial rewards come April for that. And again, this is going to be a huge motivator for you guys to continue on that path. And what you'll find with success is you'll like hope for success, and then you get success, and then you start thinking, can you do this again? And then you do it again, and then you're like, can this stay the same? Will this sustain? Right? Like, so that's how come it's so fruitless, and it's such a waste of energy thinking about it too much. and overthinking and overanalyzing something. It's a waste of energy. You're going to find that because at the every next level, there's going to be like the next thing that kind of comes up. So it's like, what are we controlling here? You know what I mean? So just do it. Just do the thing. Just post haste, do the thing. Okay. Because there's huge financial abundance that comes around April with this. Oh my God, my spiritual entrepreneurship friends are just going to absolutely love this. And then you come into May and you're just like a boss. Like come May, we are in our power. Things will get shaky, guys, in summer. I can feel it. And I'm interested to see what cards come up around that. I haven't pre-pulled these cards, by the way. Like I'm still holding the deck in my hand. But come May, we are just in our power. And let me tell you, when you are in your power, there is nothing you can't magnetize. There's no opportunity. There's no experience. Like you are a magnet in life when you feel powerful. This has been one of the deepest inquiries that I've had this past month. And I'm going to be leading my community, the Spirit School Collective, through this in about 40 minutes after I wrap up this recording. And it's going to be what makes you feel powerful. Because I have recognized through experiencing power through mediumship, and then also power as a parent and power as, you know, a boss, like as a spiritual entrepreneur, when I'm powerful, like you're in that alignment and things just flow so nicely and so easily. So that will come up a lot in May. May is going to be a very powerful time. So when you feel that power, try to manifest as much as you can, because that's when you become the most magnetizing, right? Manifestation is all about feelings. And so May, there's going to be all the vibes, all the feels that's going to be ripe and ready for manifestation and attracting the things that you truly want. So I'll be interested, you know, I'm not an astrologer, but of course I'm interested in astrology and I really love it. But I'm kind of curious what's happening with the planets in May, because I get the feeling like this is like a cosmic thing. So if you kind of go through the steps through the different months, you know, yeah, you'll just like feel most aligned in May. Okay. I'm getting kind of nervous because we're heading into June. Game, another phenomenal card. This is the card of victory and success. I feel like there is the carryover from May, just that powerful feeling, realizing like I'm the creator of my own reality. Like I kept hearing that and I never understood it until now. All I have to do is ask. You mean all I have to do is ask for something and I receive it? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to keep these vibes going. I'm going to, you know, summer's here. We got for us in the Northern Hemisphere, winter, of course, for Southern Hemisphere. I have a lot of listeners in New Zealand and Australia. Hello, hello. But this is like a really powerful and potent time. This is like around the solstice, right? This is like a solstice month. And so I feel very much that the power from May is going to really continue. But I also want to talk about like there being some sort of like recognition around it, right? So I kind of alluded to this a bit earlier, but this is something I was just thinking about today as well, which is kind of funny that this comes up. But sometimes there's like such big shifts in our life, not just in our external world, but our internal world, like how we show up, how we process things. And that can remain very unrecognized by people. So through the year, you're going to be making all these incredible moves and incredible changes, but you're not going to feel seen around by the people around you, which is why so many of us stay in the closet, is because we're not being validated by the people around us. Like, is this good? Is this good? Can you see this? Like how much I've changed or what I've been experiencing? We feel very unseen. And that keeps so many people in the spiritual closet. So what happens around June, I feel very much, is that before June, you feel kind of unseen and unheard and unrecognized by the people who are closest to you. And the other thing that makes me feel very powerful about June is because it's also going to be a month of deep recognition by the people that you care about the most and that care about you. People get used to how you are. And then when you start to change, they don't always see those changes because they see the old you. Like I look at my parents and I'm pretty sure so much of them still see silly Danielle, like, you know, the crazy kid, like troubled teenager, you know, very controlling young adult. They still see me as being a very controlling person. But the truth is I'm not anymore at all in any way. I have changed so much, but sometimes the people around you don't really recognize that. And you have to be okay with that, because when we find our true power, right? When we find our true personal power, we don't need anyone else's validation of us. And that's when this is going to come, guys, because the validation comes when we no longer need it. Okay. So this is like, heading into May, we find our personal power, feeling really good, carrying over into June. We're just like, this is the new me. People start to recognize it because we don't need their validation anymore. Unfortunately, that's when it comes, literally. It's so wild. I have so many stories around this. I'm not going to share as part of like this episode, but it just blows my mind. Okay. So I just have a jumping card for July. I totally thought, starting out this, I'm like, oh, things are going to start turning around July. But what do I pull? The power card. The power card. And it's going to be such a powerful May, June, July. Like, just ride this wave. This is what I tell people who I mentor when it comes to their mediumship or when it comes to their business. There are going to be ebbs and flows. You have to honor them. So don't force a flow when you're in an ebb. Just sit in the void of that ebb and ride that flow when it comes, like it is your personal pony. Okay. So that's what this is about in July. This is riding that wave. For May, June, July, things will still come up. This doesn't mean that it's not going to be perfect. But when I'm talking about career, and this is all about your life path, this is about money. This is a financial year. I don't know what the numerology is around it or anything like that. But the past 4 cards have been around how you make your money and how you live out your purpose and your passions. So this is going to be continuing in July. This is going to be around just like personal power. It's great. This is Lion. This is, what's kind of cool is I think that this is actually Leo season too. And, at the end of July is like heading into Leo season. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is Leo season. So this is a card of Leo as well. So this is going to be carrying us into August, the 8th month, 8th card. I don't have a whole lot to say about July other than I feel that there's going to be less focus on creating and more focus on being. Like, this is going to be a deep month of like not launching anything, not, creating anything. This is going to be actually like sustained power by living a life. So this is like vacation. I hope we can travel by then. God help me. I hope we can travel by then. But this is going to be like living the fruits of your labor. So July is going to be a very external month. I did feel things were going to shift around July. So it's interesting. I don't feel that right now again, but I'm just going to keep going. But July is going to be a month where you're out kind of like living your best life, like riding that wave. And I feel very flowy about it. I do feel, as far as money goes, this may not be the highest earning. I don't know why this one's starting out to be so much business stuff, but it is going to be feeling good. There's a good feeling about this with July. But again, what comes up is like, and I feel it in my body too, it's, can we sustain this? It's almost like the mindset starts to trip up a little bit, right? Because when we're feeling very powerful, that power is in the heart space, it's in the solar plexus. And then we start moving into the mind a little bit. You'll notice that the prominent imagery within this card is like in the head. So one of the things that I feel very much around July is we may start getting in our head a little bit. Because for people who, there's a lot of hard work that's happening in this first half of the year. People are going to be like, don't I have to be working like incredibly hard to like make success and make this work? And the truth is you actually don't. You don't have to. Or my Apple Watch, of course, is dinging now. So this could be a month that you start getting a little bit in your head, but as much as you can, try your very, very best, literally just to be and enjoy what you have created from the months ahead. Try to be as free as possible. Okay. Try to be as free as possible. Okay. Another jumping card here. So this is coming into August now. So yeah, this is kind of where the feeling comes in there. This is all about the heart space. My heart is kind of feeling a little bit heavy when I think about August, which is my birthday month. That's not how I want to feel on my birthday month. But for some reason, I feel like there are going to be things, you're going to be tested because there are going to be things that are happening around you that are not necessarily light and bright and positive, like you've had pretty much since February. you're going to be starting to get hit with some real life stuff that's going to require you to move on. Again, I feel very relationshipy with this. I feel like it could even be relationship with career, it could be relationship with workplace, but I also feel that this is very relationship focused. So there are going to be things that are happening around you with family and the relationships around family that are out of your control. And so it's going to be your first real test of 2022 to be a measuring stick of how much you have grown. So if you, one of your goals, and I feel like the people who are going to be drawn to listen to this all need to surrender and release control and the death grip that they have on life, this is going to be one of your first tests to see how far you have come. So when I say test, it's not like a pass or fail. It's like, who am I in this change that has everything to do with me, but nothing I have control over? And how am I acting and reacting to it? And you're going to either have an experience where like, whoa, I still have a lot of work to do. I'm still a little bit too controlling. I'm still being really triggered by the things that I don't have control over. Or are you going to be like, kind of like I was yesterday, where it's like, I can't believe I didn't even have like a nervous system reaction. Like I was just completely neutral to this external thing happening to me. Of course, this is August. I could use this as an example. Like in August, they may announce we're not going back to school in September. My whole life will shift because I have little ones. And I rely on school hours to do my work. So my life would have to change very drastically. So just using that as an example of something that may come up in August that is out of your control, who are you in that moment, is going to be huge for you. Because I get the sense that some of you are going to be very surprised at how much you have matured and have grown through that year. Okay, so September. So yeah, things get a little bit disorientating in September. I feel that September, I'm actually planning on taking almost all of September off myself. I'm only going to have my 3 embodied clients that I took on for 2022, my 3 one-on-one clients. I'm just going to have them, and I'm not going to be doing any courses or programs in September, because September for moms is kind of like a new year. It's like the back to school time. Things are really crazy. Schedules are crazy. New routines are crazy. So I have learned in my own cycles of life, being a mom, that I need to do is plan as little as possible in September. And I think that, judging by this card, that may be a very wise call, because this is going to be very disorientating month. This is going to be a month of, is the sky blue? I'm not going to use this example. I was going to say, is the earth round, but we don't need to go there. Like, what is what? It's kind of like this holding pattern. It's almost like the momentum that you created in the first half of the year, it's still there, but it's not as apparent. You're going to have to lean more into trust that things are still moving forward for you, even though you don't feel like they're moving forward. It's going to feel like a very stagnant month. So I have to use the example of when Bender died, which was in September, actually, of 2020. That was a really hard month for me, because I had built all this momentum from April in my business, and I'd launched my membership, and then I couldn't work. Like I was so devastated. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't work. I couldn't do readings. I could barely teach. I mean, I pushed through, but it was like a really hard month. And I couldn't believe that despite me having to take almost the entire month off, I still earned as much as I did in August. And things like the energetics of what I had created had sustained me. So even though I wasn't riding that wave was still going. So this is going to be a big month for you guys to experience that and test that as well. And so it's going to be a teacher for you. It's going to not feel great. September is not going to feel great. It's going to feel very disorientating. But come October, you're going to be like, whoa, last month was kind of crazy, and I didn't feel like I made any forward movement progress, but I did. And what I had created between, February and July has actually been sustaining me over this past month and a half. I'd say around mid-August, around Virgo season, I feel things really starting to shift. So that's going to be coming up in September. So that's going to be just try to take as much time off, try to plan as little as you can around that month. I feel that will support you best. So heading into October, again, I kind of had an intuition that things were going to start shifting. This is the emotional withdrawal card. Again, 8 is still a very abundant number for me. So I am leaning into my intuition with this card that this emotional withdrawal is actually very positive. This card could be seen as something that's not very positive, but I do think it is a very positive card because this is going to be around, you've been focusing on all the external stuff leading up until July, what you're putting out into the world and what you're creating out in the world. And then come October, it's going to be going back to the inner world. So those of us who are in the Northern Hemisphere, this is when the seasons really change, especially if you're in Canada, you literally live all 4 seasons. The leaves are falling, they're changing colors, they're dying. Composting is starting to happen. And so this is a time of deep inner retreat. And so that's going to be really starting to happen in October. Now, what I feel very much around this is if you can try to create things that are very contemplative in nature. So maybe this is when you actually start a meditation practice. Like, don't beat yourself up about it for the first few months of the year when you're really external and focusing on being and doing. And then with this coming in October, I just get the sense very much, for some of you, I actually feel burnout. I feel for some of you, you're going to try to push through in, September when, your mind is going to be like, I need to hustle. Things need to be hard for it to work, when really it doesn't have to be like that. And then those who push through are going to find burnout in October. So to avoid that burnout, take it from somebody who has gone through a lot of burnout in their life. Make space so that you don't reach that point. Allow October to unfold for you in a way that you can do that really deep, rich, rewarding inner work. Because 2021 for me was all about inner work. What you guys saw was definitely a lot of external things out in the world. But what I experienced was really healing my self-worth. That it was the year that I went from feeling unworthy to worthy, like really, truly from every cell of my being, feeling unworthy to worthy. And there's quite a few things that I had to experience that got me there. And a lot of them did require me to go through emotional withdrawal and figure out who I was. Who am I? Right? Like, I can't be affected by other people's expectations of me anymore. And so I feel like a lot of you will be experiencing that in the later half of next year as well. And it's exciting stuff. It really is. It's really rewarding stuff. Okay. Okay. So this is right. So 8 card again, not so positive this one, guys. 8 is abundant and rich. I do believe that very much, but this is the trapped in fear card when it comes to November. Now, this is of the mind. Okay. This is not being trapped in any physical way. This is being, this is when the mindset work is going to be most beneficial for you. So if you can take this as like a little bit of a nudging, that as you're so focused in the beginning half of the year of being so, ready to go about creating your life and creating all the things that you want to bring in that are very prosperous for you, not just in financial abundance, but also, quality of life. Focus on mindset in that first half as well. And you'll be much better off come November, because come November, it's almost like people experience success and then hit their first lull, hit their first ebb, and not really honoring that ebb and pushing through, and then hitting burnout in October, and then really questioning the whole year come November, where they're like, did that actually happen? Like, did I imagine that? Like, did I force that feeling? And the answer is no, you did not lie to yourself. You did experience that. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how in alignment you are. There is no alignment with misalignment. Without misalignment, you have to experience the polar opposite. And so what we're going to experience the later half of next year is going to be a little bit of the opposite of how the year starts. Okay. So this is going to be, a reverse kind of role. Well, we'll see what comes up for December. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better, but this is going to be really your mind not being your best friend. So hopefully you guys will listen back to this and look for that to kind of come up in November, so that it doesn't have to be a struggle, right? Maybe knowing that this is the energy that's going to come up in November, that you'll prepare for it through really kind of cleaning up the way you talk to yourself and your mindset, which I've talked about on this podcast since day one, right? Since day one, constantly comes up because it's really powerful. And truthfully, okay, another jumping card. I'm not going to turn it over yet. But truthfully, when we talk about this being the year that we're learning to surrender control and only focus on what we can control, guess what? Mindset is one of the very few things in this embodiment that we get to control, is how we think and how we talk to ourselves. So there you go. You get some control this year, but it's going to be during a very deep and dark time that makes you feel like you don't have control. So do what you will with that. December. Yay! A beautiful card. And I knew this card was going to come up when I was in July and they were showing me the victory card. This was the card I was seeing, reward and recognition. That's come I went on about the reward and recognition. This is spiritual in nature. This is spiritual abundance. Okay. This again, 3 card, incredibly powerful. So incredibly powerful. And this is going to be a spiritual recognition. So for those of you who have gone through the experience of the year and you're like, you went through the burnout, you cleaned up your mindset, you allowed your mindset to kind of like slip. And then you're like, oh, wait, I actually, this is one of the few things I have control over. Let's pivot and change this. I get the sense come December, there's going to be deep spiritual reward. You're going to be like, holy crap, I hardly even focused on like this aspect. Like, I'm just going to say as an example for me, like I didn't even like take a mediumship development course this year. I've taught them, but I didn't even take one, and my mediumship is next level. It's almost like that's the reward in going through the humanness of the year and, you know, the external world and then a bit of the internal world. And then come December, you're like, whoa, like, how did that happen? Because I wasn't even really focusing on that. So that's what a lot of you will experience, right? So just say you do follow the rhythms of what has come through, which a lot of it has been around how we make money in our career in 2022. But then you do that and then you realize, whoa, my marriage has never been in a better place. I didn't even work on my marriage this year. It wasn't even a focus of mine. But here I am at the end of the year and I feel completely fulfilled in my partnership. That's the kind of stuff that's going to come up in December. And this is actually a really important lesson when it comes to the energetics of life and business. And I talk about this in the initiation, where it's like, you know, we might think we need to focus on the technique and the development to get good here, but it's actually happening over in life. Right. So I had a member in my community say, I never experienced clairsentient things. And I said, you know, okay, she tried everything. She's done every like tool and trick that she had at her disposal, including what I teach, and it still wasn't happening for her. And I said, well, then it's a life thing. It has nothing to do with mediumship. It has nothing to do with your connection. It has to do with your life. So where are you not feeling in life? Where are you avoiding feelings? Where are you not emotionally connecting? And she ended up having an incredibly powerful experience after she had that realization. Sometimes just the awareness is enough to shift and move things. So that is a very important energetics lesson, that just because we're not focusing on this area and it's not the main focus doesn't mean things aren't happening in that area by proxy, by way of focusing on other things. So overall, I feel very much 2022 is going to be the year that we become more fluid, we become less controlling, we become less rigid. I feel very much we're going to experience a lot more magic in that way, because I remember years ago, like 2016, I remember there being like a very large lump sum of money that was owed to me. And I knew it was owed to me for years. But of course it was from the government, and it was just like delay, delay, delay. And I was not very abundant around that time. I was actually in quite a bit of desperation because I almost died that year and I couldn't work. And we do get disability in Canada, but it's like 1/3 or about 40% of your income. And we had just moved and doubled our mortgage into a bigger home. So it was a very, like, we survived, but it was a very dire year. And I knew that this money was coming. And so I kept like putting a chokehold on, like, Spirit, when is it coming? Like, I need it. I need it. I need it. I need it. And I remember Skylar saying when I was like, you know, around October, really popping in. It was the only time I really heard him around this time. And he said, will you let us bring you some magic? really telling me like, stop thinking about this money, like let it surprise you. And I remember that being the first time I experienced that. And I said, okay, we handled it okay. Maybe I don't need it as much as I thought I did. And it's just a nice added. Well, less than 3 weeks later, it came in the mail. The second that Skylar said, can we bring you some magic? And that one thing, for those of you who don't know, who are new listeners, Skylar's my main guide. That was a big lesson for me. And so that one thing, that one experience taught me that I cannot control something and it can happen anyways. And it does happen anyways. Same with, yeah, there's so many examples I have around this. It's unbelievable. Like I experienced something where somebody said they wanted to sign up for something. And I was like, cool, that's awesome. And then they're like, well, maybe I won't. I was like, okay, right. And we'll see if we see you, and we won't if we won't. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like surprising myself. I'm like, wow, I don't feel rejected at all. I used to feel rejection around this, and I don't. And also recognizing the growth that I had. And then almost like the second I declared, saying, you know what, like it would be nice if they came, but if they don't, I'm amazing. It's perfectly amazing. And I didn't just say it, but I felt it, right? Because manifesting is a feeling. I literally felt that thought as truth. And literally minutes later, got an email, I'm in. Like, so all this to just kind of say just little stories that like what we're doing in life is we're building evidence to back up the beliefs we desire, because we get to choose our beliefs. And we can manifest things really easily when we have aligned beliefs where we can bring in what we want to bring in. And so, it can be really surprising sometimes that we're just kind of like building the evidence. So again, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. That was a little bit jumbled, but I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to keep it in. But in 2016 was the first time I consciously experienced releasing control of something and having it come my way. Now, it was not until 2021, and I would say pretty early in 2021, that it started happening all the time. And I have so much evidence to it now, I don't doubt it anymore. So it constantly happens for me now, constantly. And so that's what I think that you guys will experience in this next year is going to be around that as well. Around, whoa, I'm going to release control, and things are just like flowing to me when I don't control them. I can't believe I've been trying to control things for so long. I think that's a realization you guys will get a lot in 2022. Sorry if I babbled around that near the end. But I don't have time to have Andrea edit this podcast. So I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for everyone who reached out to tell me that the podcast means anything to you. It really, really touches me. When I started this podcast 2 years ago, I had no expectations for it. I don't even know why I started one. I know I was inspired to, and the fact is I was obsessed with podcasts. So I'm like, why not? And back then, the only podcast I was aware of in this field was the Psychic Teachers podcast, who I love. And I hope to have them on the podcast one day. They were the first podcast I ever listened to, was the Psychic Teachers podcast. And so I was like, I really want to do one around mediumship. And I never thought that it would do what it did for my confidence, for my personal growth, for my personal development, for my spiritual development, for my business, for my life. And so I literally am just so grateful for every single one of you who listened. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for making 2021 such an amazing year in my life and my practice and my podcast. And I'm really looking forward to 2022. It's not going to be perfect, as we've seen through the inspiration that came through, but it's going to be exactly what we need. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of Spirit School. If you did, please leave me a review and a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you do feel called to share this with your friends, thank you for tagging me on Instagram at Squamish Medium so I can also share. It really helps get the word out about the podcast. If you're interested in working with me in my one-on-one mentorship, a reading, or all the various programs that I run, you can go to squamishmedium.com or check me out on Instagram at Squamish Medium. The link in the bio has everything I am currently working on in service to the world of spirit. Have a great day, guys.